Hello and welcome to this episode of Leadership Guest Practices with me, Jeremy Blaine. Many executive leaders are struggling to build their capability to master the new knowledge, skills and behaviours that the modern workplace and fast-moving business environments demand. If there's anything we've learnt about the very best leaders over the past 2 years, it is that their mindset has shifted, and that has been the key catalyst to action and growth. In fact, without that mindset shift that some leaders need to make, McKinsey predicts that by 2024, it's likely that 85% of existing senior leaders could fail. Why? They're simply not ready, and some not willing, for the journey to lead in a modern digitalised world in which their employees, partners, stakeholders and customers are more demanding, and where they themselves need to go on an accelerated learning journey. And that starts with a mindset shift. My guest, Payal Nanjiani, is an expert coach, researcher and executive leadership expert, and she knows a thing or two about how to succeed. In fact, she is focused squarely on this mindset shift specifically. Payal's mantra is that leadership starts and ends with you, and believes that you can achieve success in any economy and any situation. It's all about mindset, and it's at the heart of Payal's best-selling book, Success is Within. The 21 ways for achieving results, prosperity and fulfillment by changing your leadership mindset. Finally, we can dig deeper into our leadership mindset and make some progress. So let's hear more. Hello and welcome to this episode of Leadership Guest Practices. Today we'll be talking about success is within for leaders everywhere. Thank you very much for joining me, Payal, for this discussion. Please do introduce yourself, your business, and your passion for supporting executive leaders, particularly today.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for inviting me to this lovely podcast of yours, this lovely show of yours. And so apart from being a world-recognized executive coach and a New York award-winning author, I am a mother to two lovely daughters. They are pretty much grown up now. And very recently, I was recognized by the Times Group for being one of the most influential leadership coaches and for being a leadership speaker. And for me, it all started with one question in my life, in my career life. Why do we have such few exceptional leaders in any organization? So 15% to be very precise. What about the rest? 75 to 80% of the people in the organization. So that's how my entire career started to being shaped, and that's where I come from.
So yeah, and I can see that, and particularly now coming out of the pandemic, where everybody is challenged. It doesn't matter the level, and particularly leaders are going to need to start to unlearn potentially traditional older practices, relearn how to lead in the modern world with all the demands that we've got. And you speak about success is within from that perspective. So could you please explain this and how leaders with that mindset seem to flourish, particularly when compared to leaders who don't?
So success is within is a very simple concept, but very hard to implement for many. That's how I would put it. So, when I talk about success is within, what I really put together is two cycles that we all operate in, whether it's you, me, anyone in the workforce. One is the traditional cycle where, we have a lot of importance being weighed on the skills of the person. So you have the skills, the potentials, the abilities, you have all the required resources, but at the same time, you're really not living up to your potential. Your results are not really very significantly impacting your own growth or your organization's growth. All of that begins to impact what I call the inner leader in a person. So, the inner leader is nothing but your state of mind. So it starts to impact your state of mind. And when that happens, what are you going to do with all your skills and your resources? You're going to sit back there and think, oh, you know what? I'm good for nothing. Nothing is going to happen in my life. It's the lucky few who have become successful in their careers. And then with all those skills, with all those resources, you're really not getting the results that you should be getting. And opposed to that is another cycle which I introduced in the corporate world, which is called the progressive leadership cycle. Now, the progressive leadership cycle starts with your inner leader. It means you begin to condition yourself for success, and that's how you work on your skills, your potentials, and everything. And you do not let the results or the behaviors of the people actually disturb your inner state of leading. And that's where the entire game changes. It's like what I say, 25% of your career life is your skill set, and 75% is the person behind the skills. So everything in your life, my life, depends on which cycle we are operating. And let me tell you something here, Jeremy, is that 80% of the people in the workforce, they actually operate unknowingly in the first cycle, which is the traditional cycle, where they let everything impact them, and they just keep on building on the skills, and nothing really shows up in their life. And only 20% of the people are operating in this so-called progressive cycle. That's where success is rooted into.
Yeah, I really get the progressive leadership kind of state that you need to get into, and particularly the inner leader. No matter how skilled you are, potentially with everything kind of hitting leaders these days, it can be self-confidence, it can be challenge, it can be anything. Self-doubt creeps in, and it can start to impact, can't it, productivity and performance. And we see that all the time throughout businesses. It's no wonder, in fact, that McKinsey came out with a survey at the end of last year saying that they predict by 2024, about 70% of senior leaders will fail. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, absolutely. And that research, it's so true. We're already seeing it, during these pandemic times. There was a very good article. I'm not sure if you got it. It was in the Fortune magazine, I think, that spoke about the great CEO exodus. And it spoke about how some of these top CEOs have been exiting from their jobs and their roles. And this was just before the pandemic hit. It was somewhere in March. Even the lockdown hadn't happened in 2020 yet. And the things have gotten worse now. There is more tension. We have the NASDAQ actually putting a lot of pressure on the CEOs and executives to deliver the results. So absolutely, if you're not able to imbibe the success within a concept and really push yourself and shift into that progressive leadership cycle, you're going to be really doomed in the times to come.
Yeah, I recognize that myself. And I was one of these Gen X leaders who voted with my feet. I said, you know what, I'm coming out of the corporate world. I don't want to take over an untransformed business in the state that it's in now, and figure out how we get to the 2030s. I can do that better from the outside, sort of working in. So I totally understand that from personal experience. So I have to ask you this follow-up question, of course. What examples are there out there of organizations and leaders who are getting this right in terms of moving into the progressive leadership state and the impact on them and the organization?
So I'll give you some of these names which I have really resonated with when it comes to the success within concept. And, leaders like Steve Jobs, like Oprah, like Jeff Bezos, how do you think they are achieving one goal after another, setting up their companies, making sure that, whatever is the economy, they've gone through these recessions, they're going through right now. How do you think they are moving ahead, achieving one goal from another? And I'm going to give a very, very live example incidents here. I'll share this with the listeners. This happened, I think, way back in 2012 or 2013. This is when this entire concept of successes within I had birthed it, and it had got recognized. I was traveling to Dubai, and I was traveling there to give to speak at a conference. And while on the way to the conference hotel, I see that, there is this row of street side lovely shops in Dubai, out of which one of the shops was very burnt out, completely burnt down. And I see this, board put up there. My shop has been burnt. My determination has not. I will be back soon. And that same evening, I meet with one of my potential clients, and I meet him at the one of the most recognized hospitals in Dubai. And we signed the contract and everything in the hospital. And what got him to the hospital was a big financial loss that took place in his life. One of his clients had filed for bankruptcy, and because of that, he and his team was facing the loss, and he was in the hospital with a minor cardiac arrest. And that same night, I was thinking, I'm seeing two examples. One, a person who has no resources, barely any skill sets, shop is burnt down, no resources or money or team. And he says, I am going to be back. My determination has not burnt down. My shop has. I will be back here soon. And I have this person with with the best of the resources. He's in one of the most expensive hospitals of Dubai. He has a great team, and he's got the money, everything. And his entire thought process has landed him up into the hospital. So, if we do not get this concept right, that we've got to condition ourselves, because today it's the pandemic, tomorrow it may be just something else. None of us know what's coming our way in our work life. If we do not get this concept right, and we do not begin to practice it, we are going to see a lot of downfall, not only in our lives but in our organizations. We are going to just go finish the work and leave. We are not going to become what we want to become in the process.
Yeah, I totally get that. In fact, when you were talking there, I think we used to call this a can-do attitude. This is looking at the opportunities and how to get them rather than the challenges and the problems that we've got. And you're so right. The cost of not having that is that you risk actually more rapid failure these days in the pace of change that we have within our organizations. For sure. And I think that's really important to understand, that it really starts at mindset level. So you talk about that success is within, and you talk about that mindset. How does the mindset of that leader impact the rest of the organization when we consider things like engagement, motivation, attraction, retention of employees, when it goes right or when they've got it right, but also when they're getting it wrong?
Yeah, you definitely can. Just to answer your question, how does it impact, when we consider the motivation and the other aspects in the organization? The entire concept of success is within is based on the fact that you take yourself with you everywhere. Okay, right? So to that meeting, to that conversation, to that project, to that new role, the client deal, that new job. So it means that, if you are successful, you're going to make sure that success follows you everywhere. And if you feel like a failure, if you're going to be negative all the time, you're going to take that with you everywhere. So one of the biggest impacts we have seen, in the overall organization is that you begin to develop more leaders in the process, because now people are not waiting for outside success. They're not waiting for positions or titles or roles, and hey, you need to declare me as a leader, and I need to have this chair and everything title bestowed upon me. So what we have seen that there are more people willing to show leadership, as opposed to people thinking, oh, this is not my role, he or she is the person in charge of it. So more accountability, less of people leaving the jobs. So you retain your people more now, because when you believe in that concept that you take yourself with you everywhere, basically that it's really not the job, it's not the boss, or it's not your colleague or the economy or the government for that reason. It's really you. So, if you're going to feel like a failure in your current organization, guess what? You are going to behave and feel like a failure even in the new organization. And it's just a matter of time, and it's just going to happen. You're just going to feel that again, that, oh, I'm again with another like this boss, and I'm there's no growth in the organization. So we've seen that there's been a huge transformation in the thinking of the people. And when they change that thinking, when they transform themselves from inside, oh, we see more people taking up new roles, more jobs, more innovations. I am seeing more people coming back to me and saying, hey, you know what? I see more accountability into my teams. So that's the overall impact it has on people and organizations likewise.
Yeah, that can-do thinking impacts can-do action almost, doesn't it? And I understand that from the leaders that I've known that have this, they have this successes within, they practice this progressive leadership cycle that you've been talking about as well. One thing that struck me when you were talking there, Payal, is that you've worked globally. I've worked globally. I was based in Asia for 7 years as well. And we talk about Eastern and Western leadership and management practices. So when we consider those, how do they differ potentially when you're talking about progressive leadership cycle and that attitude of successes within?
So I have stayed most of my life in the US and worked in both places, in the Asian continent as well as the Western companies. What I have seen is that, one of the major differences I have seen is that in the Western world, we have a less human approach. Okay, when I say we have a less human approach, I mean that we are very focused on our processes of exactly, everything has to be set and processes can be just handled. We are going more towards AI than what I am seeing in the Asian part of the world. So there is less of the human touch and more focus on the process and contracts. The amount of contracts I have seen in the Western world, in the US, I have barely seen it when I deal with my clients in the Asian world. And in the Eastern side, they place a lot of emphasis on the human side, on the human connections. I can tell you this even today. I'm currently in India for business expansion reasons. And what I have noticed is there is a lot of human connection. In a place where we are all comfortable online and virtually, let me tell you, in the Asian side, they are still waiting, to get out of their offices, meet the people, and the comfort level of working online is not to that extent as we see it in America or in the Western approach. And I think the West talks a lot about empowerment, empowering others to grow, empowering people to take up more roles, which I think in the Eastern culture we see a lot of leadership as a hierarchy. It's less flexible, and we see it more as a hierarchy that, hey, you know what, it has to be position led, it has to be someone who is sitting on that chair for you and me to know, hey, you know what, it's this person, and this is the go-to person, this is the leader. So I think all in all, with the world becoming extremely tight and small now, because of the virtual world that we have all in, I think somewhere the Eastern and the Western leadership cultures have started to integrate and merge. I'm seeing that in India, there was a concept where we believed that success is not the materialistic gains in your career. But I would not say that's the truth right now. It's changed a whole lot. Today, we believe what the Western world believes, that success is materialistic and we must, accumulate. So I think in somewhere or the other, it's all integrating and really weaving inside slowly but surely.
I agree with you. And I would add into that the kind of capitalism that we practice in the West is slightly different to the East. There's a lot more now challenging that and calling for leaders to step up as forces for good, more human-centered leadership everywhere in the world, not just kind of the definition of East and West. So I agree that is coming together. And as the world shrinks and as we know, the blended workforce is going to increase, not just hybrid working. So that means that independent workers will be a formalized part of the workforce, and it could be geography free. So when we've got that borderless approach, things do have to kind of merge a bit, don't they?
Sure.
So yeah, that's an interesting one for me, because when I then say, right, if I'm a leader and this is going to happen, I'm being challenged as a leadership, as a leader, and my leadership is being challenged. The world is shrinking. We're coming together. I've got workforce shift. I've got digital shift. I've got to find this within myself to have that can-do attitude to move forward. So the $64,000 question for you, Payal, is this: what specific steps can executive leaders take to adopt a more progressive leadership cycle, so they bring that success from without, if you like, and how do they know that they're making progress?
You have to make that shift, Jeremy. That's what I would say. That shift is so important. In fact, I help so many leaders and executives make a change in their thought process and in their behaviors. That's exactly where you start adopting the successes within practice. Whether you call it as my coaching practice, or my first book was based on successes within. So I have observed that many people are stuck in their professional lives just where they are, not because they don't know, they don't have the skills or the credentials. It's because they are repeating their patterns. They have these goals which are up here, uphill goals, but their behaviors, their everyday thinking is downhill. And because of that, it creates this gap between where they are and where they want to be. And they are repeating this pattern over and over again and getting the same results every time. Business owners get the same percentage of growth every year. Individuals in the corporates who aspire for growth, they get stuck in the same role for 8 years, 12 years, 15 years, and it's really sad to see that. And here, we have the business world putting the entire focus on skill sets, whereas we need to know that we haven't really groomed our people to make a change in their thought pattern and in their behaviors. And I think that's where we all need to start. We need to take a step back, and we really need to stop looking at, hey, you know what, he or she has this skills, even I should get these skills, and I should get these skills from here, and every skill should be mine. It's really not going to take you anywhere. What has brought you to here and what will take you to the next level is very different. So, I think the place that we all need to begin with is to make that shift in our thought process and in our behaviors, so that we come out of that feeling of frustration, of blaming the economy, the government, the management, the boss. We need to really step out of all that and consciously make that shift, that, okay, you know what, this is where I start from. This is how I'm conditioning myself. So when people come to me for coaching, that's where we start from. And that's when you begin to see the progress every day. Progress is very visible. You don't have to really, I'm not going to tell you that, hey, sit and do this assessments and then you're going to get, no. On a daily basis, on a scale of 1 to 10, just rate yourself today where you are when it comes to, say, discipline. Okay, in your life, in your career life, when it comes to discipline, if you're just waiting for motivation versus discipline, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? And just rate yourself. You will always have a true answer. And if your answer is, hey, I'm on a level of 5, okay, so tomorrow I need to be on a level 6. And what do I need to do on a level 6? And level 7, level 8, you eventually get there. And we've seen this huge transformation in people, when we do their coachings or when we are speaking at organizations, huge transformation when they just click it, that this is exactly where I start, this is how I get there, and this is how I move ahead. So it's a daily practice.
Yes, it is, particularly for leaders who have that doubt, or that the doubt is creeping in or has been there for a while. Like you say, it's sort of stagnated a bit. Absolutely. That shift in the thought patterns, as you've talked about, shift in behaviors, it's a transformational mindset, and many leaders will need help getting there. And you're quite right to kind of raise the fact that, the coaching element behind it and how you support organizations, has been a wonderful success, because you really need to accompany the journey, and many leaders need that help. And that may be the first step for some of those leaders, to hold a hand up and say, you know what, I need a little bit of help. So you are the person, Payal, to help them. So how can people find out more from you, get in touch with you, and continue the discussion?
I'm available on LinkedIn. I put up a lot of resources of leadership on LinkedIn and on my Instagram page. And it's all under the name of Payal Nanjiani. And, we run blogs and podcasts regularly. So every day there is something new on leadership that helps them to make that transition into the progressive cycle and really begin to practice the successes within concept.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Payal Nanjiani. It's been a great conversation. Something at the start of 2022 is perfect for leaders who are looking for that boost, looking to release themselves from within. Many thanks indeed, and good luck for the year ahead.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here on your show, and this is a wonderful platform that you have created. So thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
Thanks very much, and goodbye. Thank you for joining our Guest Practices videocast. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel through the link below, or check out our website to access more in our current series of expert interviews.